I still remember the exact moment I wanted to be a teacher. I was sitting in my grade 10 geography class doing an assignment on GDP per capita with my geography teacher, Miss Peg. She was a brand new teacher to our school, and from day one she made every student feel welcome, included, and at home in her classroom compared to my other classrooms. Solely from my teacher making an impact on myself, I decided that I wanted to be a teacher. When I first looked at this 1399 assignment, I thought it was crazy that a first year student had to come up with an educational philosophy. Although I came to the realization that now is actually the best time to do it, as I have the next 3.5 years to build on it and put it into practice. From a quick Google search of philosophers, I saw names like Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, and I thought to myself, wow, how am I supposed to create something that these renowned names have? It wasn't until I was driving to work one day and I thought, there are many steps into driving a car, and similarly, there's many steps into becoming a memorable and great teacher. Every person drives differently, everyone has a different car, and we all have preferences on routes we take to the same place. Equally, every student will learn differently, have their preferences, and take out tasks in different ways. Before starting the car, your first step is to put on your seatbelt. The main purpose of a car's seatbelt is safety. In our classrooms, first impressions matter, and making our classrooms a safe environment from the get-go is essential for our students. As Nell Nodding stated, the student is infinitely more important than the subject matter. Prior to teaching students our subject matter, having a safe environment is vital. After our seatbelt, we make sure the car is in neutral gear. This is the start of our relationship with our students. With many challenges that students are facing outside of the classroom, I endeavour to start a clean slate with my students and assure they are in a safe and accepted environment in my classrooms. The use of windscreen wipers while driving is to remove distractions and keep moving forward. Students will come into our classrooms with many negative thoughts, mindsets, and stereotypes given to them from peers and society. Students are often treated differently as a result of their gender, race, religion, cultural background, or socioeconomic status. In today's multicultural classrooms, I'll ensure every student's accepted, valued, and treated equally. Our steering wheel and indicators are used to direct where we desire to go. Every single student is guaranteed to learn differently in our classrooms. We as teachers need to learn to cater to the diverse learning that we're going to experience. If one method of teaching isn't working, turn around, turn your other indicator on, and try a different direction. As Bell Hooks said, many teachers have difficulty releasing own ideas, embracing new ways of thinking, and may be resolutely attached to old ways of practicing teaching. We need to not be part of that many and not hesitate to try new ideas and experiment in new pedagogical practices. Mistakes happen, and sometimes they can be inevitable, although this is why we have a reverse gear: learn, unlearn, and relearn. Teachers need to have a strategy in case our students develop a bad or lazy habit in our classrooms. For example, a common habit in classrooms can be talking and distracting others' learning. Going back to Miss Peg, she had a very subtle way of removing this behaviour. As she was pacing the classroom, giving our content, she would walk over to our desk and lightly put her hand on the corner of it. Without saying anything, she reiterated that this behaviour we were participating in was wrong. I know I'll be using Miss Peg's strategy in my classroom, although it's up to us to unlearn and relearn behaviours that students develop. Stalling occurs when you pull out the clutch too quickly or do not give enough accelerator. If we rush our students' learning and give them too much of a challenge all at once, they'll develop anxiety of the subject, which will stop their learning. On the contrary, if we don't give enough challenge, or accelerator, they'll become bored and disengaged from learning. Alike balancing a clutch, this is known as the zone of proximal development. As teachers, we should always keep this in mind with our diverse classrooms. Finally, we have our handbrake to stop us from rolling backwards. As John Dewey stated, education is not a preparation for life, education is life itself. Nobody ever stops learning, although as teachers, we're the beginning of that journey for our students. With our handbrake, we need to ensure that learning doesn't go backwards. I know throughout my schooling, there were times where I felt like I plateaued with my learning and that I didn't reach my full potential. With my driving metaphor, I will ensure my classroom is a safe place, wipe away my students' stereotypes, steer them in the right direction, reverse bad habits, make sure my students' learning is in the right place, and finally that their learning doesn't roll backwards. Inspired by Nell Nodding's quote regarding students being more important to subject matter, that has inspired my educational philosophy. I believe every student has a right to education regardless of their gender, race, socioeconomic status, or their abilities. My pedagogical approach to teaching is going to promote equity rather than equality. In my classroom, I'm going to make sure that every student receives the assistance that they need. As my students' main form of contact, they'll develop sections of the hidden curriculum from myself, including values, beliefs, and social norms. My passion is to watch my students grow, develop their skills, and most importantly, make sure they're safe in my classrooms. This is my chance to become the best teacher I can be and drive my students to success.